Hi, I am Stephanie J. Block.
And I'm Mary Lee Fairbanks.
And you are listening to Season 4 of Stages Podcast, where we go behind the scenes and beyond the resume.
Join us as we talk to some of the greatest talents from theater, TV, film, and more. And then check out stagespodcast.net for past episodes, merch, and so much more. And love where you are now. Hello, my friends. Next week on June 4th, our very own Stephanie J. Block will make her London debut in Kiss Me, Kate. I'm so excited for her. And I invite you all to log on to Instagram at stages_podcast and send your well wishes to Ms. Block. We'll tag her in all of them and we'll share them while she's away. I won't be there for opening, but I will be there for closing, and I cannot wait to see it. I know she'll be brilliant because she's brilliant in everything. So I'll put a link in the show notes for tickets to the show. And if you see it, send along your review to Stages Podcast as well. We're really excited for you, Stephanie. Best of luck, my friend. I was fortunate enough several weeks ago to be in the first rehearsal and meet and greet for the upcoming Broadway musical, The Outsiders. I stepped into the space and the youthful male energy was palpable. There were headlocks and bear hugs, and the boundless vitality ricocheted from wall to wall. And then I noticed the room smelled like Palo Santo. That's also known as holy wood incense, which is burned to cleanse, protect, and increase spiritual awareness. And I took a deep breath and I knew this was going to be such an enjoyable experience. We gathered around in a circle and a curly-haired petite young woman stepped forward. The room hushed, the headlocks released, and all the energy beamed in one direction, hers. She spoke about authenticity and intimacy, trust and fearlessness, with a quiet calm that was grounded in her strength and rooted in her flexibility. She was fierce, yet gentle. It takes a certain kind of woman to lead a mostly male room, but it takes a force of nature to become their queen. She finished talking, and it felt like the cast was going to scoop her up, throw her on their shoulders, and celebrate as if she had led them to an NBA championship. Today, she is the queen of Stages Podcast, and her name is Danya Taymor. She has directed plays at Playwrights Horizon, the Goodman Theater, Lincoln Center, Steppenwolf, and her acclaimed Broadway production of Passover was filmed in collaboration with Spike Lee for Amazon Prime. This Obie Award-winning director has brought her first musical to Broadway and has a Tony nomination to show for it. In fact, the show is so incredible, it has 12 Tony nominations. The Outsiders and all involved could not be in more capable hands. Please welcome Danya Taymor.
Danya Taymor to stage, please. Danya, can we have you to stage?
Yay!
Danya, before we talk about anything, I think I'd like to gush a little bit about Bill Irwin. I love him so much. And then I was reading a little bit about you putting up Samuel Beckett and his sort of relationship with that and the hat. And then, you know, I always think of him, but if he ever crosses my mind, he is in some sort of a hat, doing some sort of a hat trick. And it is so ingratiating. And so tell me your relationship with him and that sort of magic that he can bring to your life.
I first worked with Bill on Passover because Passover is this amazing play by Antoinette, Nwandu, and it's a riff on Waiting for Godot. And when we were getting ready to do the piece on Broadway, Antoinette was like, I want to work with Bill Irwin. And we reached out and we were like, hey, do you want to come collaborate with us? And he was like, really? Me? Why? And we sort of explained why and what we were thinking. And he came on board and he worked with all three of the actors. And we all read the play together too. And then he just became a really cool friend and sort of, I don't want to say mentor, but just like guardian angel from afar.
Right.
And went to go do Endgame, another Beckett play in Dublin. I was like, I don't get this play. Bill, what's this play about? We did a reading at his house and he read in it. And then when I went to go to Ireland to do it, he let me take the hat he wore when he played Ham, which we sewed into the hat that Frankie Boyle, who played Ham in my production, wore. So he's just like a wonderful person of the theater. He's so curious. He checks in on me. Yeah, he's just a wonderful person.
There's no
That's so great.
actor I've ever come across that knows how to move every limb. He is so in tune and in touch with his body and how to use it as a storyteller, with like standing on that real fine balance of almost taking it too far, but he never does. It's a real beautiful balance. Yeah, I adore him. Sharing a creative space with him as always. It feels very sacred and like you are truly, and sharing the breathing space with someone who loves this art form more than maybe anybody else I've ever come across. What does it feel like to bring Beckett to Ireland? Is there like a massive pressure to that?
It was amazing. I was like, how did I get to be so lucky as to do this play in this place with these people? 3 of the actors were Irish, 1 was Scottish. And I actually got it because the artistic director of the Gate saw the Zoom version of Heroes of the Fourth Turning that I did during the pandemic.
A Zoom version. Wow.
Yes. And because we had done the whole play, it was so deep inside the actors' bodies, that it actually in some moments was as strong, if not stronger. But it just felt like a incredible opportunity, and like maybe it sounds cheesy, but fate. Like, I don't know how I got to do that, but it was amazing. And to do it in Beckett's theater, the Gate is his home. There's a seat with his name on it. And, I mostly work on new plays. This was actually the first time I got to direct a play by a dead writer, but I tried to pretend like he was alive.
Sat in his seat and talked to him.
Yeah, I would say like, oh, I'm sitting in his lap, or I'm sitting next to him night, and his face was everywhere in Dublin. So it did feel like a privilege and honor, but like he was everywhere around us. So
yeah.
I
mean,
so
Ireland
funny.
is so magical anyway. So if anywhere that spirit would have been coming and talking to you, it's Ireland.
And they believe in spirits and the energies that remain. That's right. Absolutely. I'm about to go to the West End to play Kiss Me Kate, but there are moments where we're playing Taming of the Shrew, albeit heightened and musical theaterized. Is that a word? I just made up a word, people. But there's a little bit of me that's like, wow, this takes on a different understanding than presenting it perhaps at American musical theater, where those that are sitting in the audience may not have that same relationship to Shakespeare as those that may be sitting in the audience there in London.
I think the best compliment I got when I was doing it from audiences were that it felt like a new play. And that was great. That was made me so good. And that we found the humor in the play and the tragedy. It was fun. It was really fun.
Danya, can I ask you, how have you found yourself in the director's seat for some of these really unique pieces, like Passover, for example? Culturally are very different from you, but yet you've done such a remarkable job directing these pieces. How did you end up with them? How do you find your work?
I think that it has to do on like a case by case basis. I work with a lot of living playwrights, and I feel like when I'm invited to take on a piece, it's because the playwright wants me to be their collaborator. And so when I'm in those rooms, I'm not serving the role of the person who has the lived experience. That's not the place that I lead from. In those rooms, often when a playwright has written something, it's deeply personal, not always. And it does have to do with their lived experience or their imagination, and they are the authority on that. And then the play is the authority on that. And what I'm there to do is serve as like a theater practitioner to help tell the story and give the leadership, the tools, the whatever I can bring into the space. But I feel that when I'm there, it's because the writer, for whom it's their very, very personal piece, has asked me to be there. And if they want me to be there, then I trust that. And if they want a different person, and I've also had the experience of somebody wanting somebody of a certain identity to direct a play for that reason, which I find extremely valid. So I think that it has to do with relationships, with knowing what your role is and what your role is not. And also ensure that you surround yourself with a diversity of viewpoints who are behind the table, who are also gazing on the show. And it is different case by case. And show by show. And I think there's a lot of different ways to lead in rooms where you are not telling a story that's of your lived experience, of which, to be honest, I have never done. Of course, it's definitely more charged depending on what the play is. And you have to be prepared to have challenging conversations and to understand that there are things that you will not know. And there are moments where you have to learn at somebody's expense. And that's the hardest part, because that's what you never want to have happen, but it does and it will. So those are some of the ways in which I've experienced being in leadership positions in those spaces. But when I'm in a space where I'm not the authority on the lived experience of the writer or of the piece itself, I don't try to be or pretend to be.
Great.
I
Thank
think
you.
sometimes a distance vantage point too, from a person who hasn't lived that experience, can also broaden some of the meaning and reach a wider audience too, because you have a different perspective and you're able to highlight a little bit of that perspective too, when in a situation that you don't necessarily understand.
As long as it's welcomed. Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. Like you said, you use the word invite, and having that personal relationship where they say, you bring something different. Let's do this together.
And we'll be right back. You seem like you create a space in the rehearsal room where people are really free to explore. You create a lot of trust. I mean, just looking at what I've seen of The Outsiders so far, you can see how much trust there is built in that cast. And I think that kind of trust gives them the freedom to explore and to fail and to go out on a limb. How do you create that? What do you do to help create that kind of trust and creativity in the room?
I think the first step is to really know and practice the fact that trust has to be earned every day, and to not take that for granted. That in order to truly build and gain and maintain trust, it's a daily practice, and there has to be reciprocity in it. That's something I think about a lot, that you can't just expect it. Just because I'm the director doesn't mean you should trust me. I need to show you that I'm trustworthy, show you that I'm somebody you can rely on through my actions. And so I do that in lots of different ways. I do a long warm up at the beginning of every rehearsal for as long as possible. And something that's been cool about this process is I've always lamented that when you go into tech and you move into the theater, you sort of lose that rehearsal room feeling. And so we found on The Outsiders ways to bring that into the theatrical space, and even include our, like, the technicians, the creative team, the designers, the general manager, and try to fold them into that ethos so that we all know each other. So it doesn't feel like, oh, right, there's the artists and then there's the producers, the general managers, trying to fuse a larger group so that people really know each other as one. So we do a lot of work in the room about slowly building consent, like through touch, and that's a normal thing to practice and to have as part of the rooms, that when you do get up on your feet, you know somebody's boundaries, or you know how to check in with somebody's boundaries, and that doesn't feel scary or tense. It feels like that's just what we do here. And then I like to try to keep it really playful, especially when working on like really intense and heavy material. It's nice for the rehearsal room to be a joyful place, and of course for that material to be given the seriousness that it's due, but also, you can't live in that heaviness all the time and then go out and do it. So I try to get us back into like our childhood selves where we played pretend. And so I do a lot of playing for the first hour or even hour and a half of rehearsal before we quote, like, get to work. And I find that all that time spent makes the work happen in a deeper, faster, more efficient, solid way.
Danya, you are so well-spoken. You're so impressive. When did all of this? So no, take it in, little mama. So you're sitting there, and at what age are you like, okay, I express myself really succinctly? There are plenty of really great, brilliant directors that are terrible communicators, just terrible, really.
It seems
they
like that
have
will
a
be
vision.
impossible.
No, it's not. I have worked with some that, and don't go back, don't look at my resume, y'all, but there have been some that it's very clear to them visually where they want us to go. and they give us a very loose leash, which sometimes I absolutely love when I know what the parameters is, right?
Mhm.
When I know what that looks like, I'm happy to play, and they can't articulate to you what their visual is for that moment.
Yeah.
It's then just trial and error. And after I'm not giving this person what they want, and I really want to, right? So there are different directors. You do not seem to be that type. I think that you invite people's opinions, but you are so well spoken. So going back to what I was first speaking to, when did that happen where you're like, oh, no, no, I have this skill of communicating with people?
It's a great question. I don't know that I can't, I'm not sure if I can pinpoint the conscious moment. I think part of it is a fascination I have with language. My mom is the child of uh now you'd say Ukrainian, but then Russian Jews who fled, landed in Mexico City, where she was born and raised. And so she grew up speaking Hebrew, Spanish, and eventually English. Then she moved to the States. And so I didn't learn Spanish when I was a kid. And then when I was a teenager, I was like, I got to learn my mom's mother tongue. I need to be able to talk to her in Spanish. So I went on this like long time of learning Spanish. It took me about like 10 years to really get fluent. And I think part of the way I communicate must have to do with that, with going it like living in a different country, not fully understanding the language, trying to understand the language. And then when I came to New York, I met this amazing couple, Mexican couple, Ana Graham and Antonio Vega, and they invited me to co-translate some plays from Spanish to English with them. And that was amazing too, because it gave me such a sensitivity and appreciation for why playwrights choose certain words. Like, do you compromise the meaning or the rhythm, the sound? What do you
Right.
choose? And I think that's maybe why I ended up doing new plays. But you know, I also did mock trial in high school, and I always loved singing and stuff like this. And I always have loved people. I think that's the reason why I'm a director more than anything else, is because I love groups of people. I like fusing new groups of people together. I love seeing a potential in somebody that they may not see and saying, no, you have it, you're there. As a director, I will always try to help, whether it's an actor or a designer, find the thing I'm looking for on their own, because I feel like it means more. And I also don't even feel like it's my idea. It's what the play wants us to do. Um, so I'm not really answering your question, but you could probably ask my mom that. She might have a better answer for you. She'd
Well,
probably
and
say,
your mom's she's a psychiatrist too, right?
yeah, she's a
And so
sick.
you may have had insights into why people do the things or say the things they say because of your mom's career too. You know, sometimes when you start to understand that, and when you're taking the time to really think about your words because you're doing it in a different language, it's just kind of shaped who you were at a young age.
Mm-hmm.
She's almost a director, right? As a director, you are a little bit like that. What's the motivation? Where is this coming
Yeah.
from?
Right.
Let's mine this feeling, and how can
Right.
you fuse this character with what your lived experience, and make it truthful in the moment. It's a
Right.
little like that. It is a
Yeah.
little like therapy when we're in those rooms. Yeah.
Mhm.
I want to talk about you getting led to your first musical, because you'd never done a musical up till now. It's very different to direct a dramatic play and a musical.
I've seen the show 6 times now. I've brought many, many friends to see it on all different ages. Some people theater people, some people not so much theater people. Sort of across the board, the response is overwhelmed. They can't believe what they're witnessing up on the stage. It's unlike anything they've seen before. There are scenes that are absolutely breathtaking, you know, the fire and the rain and the rumble, and what you've achieved up there is truly incredible. I have a friend who said,
What she has achieved on that stage is a Herculean feat. That was the feedback. It's truly remarkable.
Oh, I'm so jealous. I can't
Oh,
see it.
Steph, it's so great.
Okay. Okay.
So I want to talk about that. Were you terrified to like start a musical, or were you just jazzed to jump in, or what did that feel like?
I think I didn't know fully what I was getting myself into. And so the way this came to me is I had my path crossed with Adam Rapp over 10 years ago at the Flea Theater. And then when I was doing a play around the same time as his play, The Sound Inside was up, I was doing Heroes of the Fourth Turning. I invited him to come and I saw his play and we sort of reconnected. And then when I was doing Passover, it just like hit me like an impulse. I was like, Adam Rapp has to see this. So I wrote to him. He's like, yeah, I want to come. Time passed. I was like, you have to come. Time passed. And then on closing weekend, I was like, you have to see my play. And he came to the closing weekend and we had a coffee afterwards. And he said, would you ever do a musical? And I was like, huh? And he's like, I'm writing this musical and I really love it. I really believe in it. It's an adaptation of The Outsiders. Would you ever do something like that? And he sent me the materials and I listened to the music and I read, the book. And I thought, oh my gosh, I love this. I have to do this. And then I had to sort of audition for the job. And I remember when that was happening, I had this realization that I had to let myself fully fall in love with the piece in order to get the job. And that was scary. And it made me feel some compassion for actors. Because I'm like, oh God, this is so hard. I'm gonna put my whole self out there for months without knowing if I'm going to get to do this, but I have to in order to get it. So it's been an amazing experience, but I didn't feel like I searched for it. I feel like it found me. And the fact that it found me from something I believed in as much as Passover made me feel like it was right. Like if they saw that and that's why they want me to do this, then they must want me. And so that's a good feeling because I thought, okay, well, I'll just try to be myself while working on this. And, one of the most invaluable collaborators on the piece for me is Justin Levine, who's one of the co-book writers. He's the orchestrator. He's one of the composers. And the way he understands the structure of the musical is kind of how I pride myself in understanding plays. And so I've learned so much from him about how to fall in love with that structure, not to follow it with any rigidity, but to learn from it and become inspired by it. And so that really spoke to me. And I also just love working with living writers. And so now I had 4 living writers to collaborate with instead of 1. And that was also a joy. So it's been an amazing experience. I feel I've grown as a leader so much because it is a play times a million in terms of collaboration, how many different departments there are, how much communication needs to happen to make sure that everybody is on the same page. So that's kind of how I found myself to this musical, was very organically.
Yeah.
Had you read the book in high school?
Say again? No.
You didn't read the book in high school? Oh, that's so interesting. Did you read it in high school, Seb? Seb.
That's all right.
My son
I know
Seb
who
did.
I know, and my husband Seb did
a lot of
as
Sebs.
well. Sebastian Carlos did read it in high school. I can't remember, to be honest.
Oh, funny.
I was such a Cliff Notes kind of gal. And then if I could see the movie, I would always opt for that. If I could make up a story for a book report, because back then you'd have to like go to the library, have a bibliography, all that stuff. You could still make up content and, fake your teachers out by making up some story that you have read, i.e. The Purple Horse. I want you all to check that out, that I wrote in 4th grade. But I love that when Anthony went and saw Passover, which essentially my paraphrased understanding, I got to watch it on Netflix.
Yeah, me too.
Cool.
My goodness. But the comfort level with which these 2 humans, these 2 Black men are sitting and discussing their lives and perhaps hopes for a more fortunate future, it does sort of mirror a little bit The Outsiders, where they are who they are, they're in their circumstance, but the socias represent something else. To some, it is not palatable. To others, it's perhaps something maybe to peek into or strive for. And so there is kind of a parallel between the 2 stories, no? On a basic level, of course.
Yeah, and I think that both stories are about young men who are in a society that makes it very challenging for them to express vulnerability or softness or tenderness, and the cost of that on men. And I think The Outsiders also shows that cost on women and on people. But I think that it also has that in common. And I also think both pieces examine class and the intersection of class and race in our version. And I think it's really, both are extremely American, like deeply, deeply American stories. And the interesting thing with The Outsiders is I feel that way about it, but it's being read all over the world too. And I think what's so amazing about the book The Outsiders is that it is universal, I think, because it's so particular and it's so specific. We have our set design team is a collective. Christine Jones, Brett Benakis, and Tatiana Kavijan. And Tatiana grew up in Brazil. And when we were meeting, she was like, I loved this book. I feel like I have to do this project. I read it then. And so you start to find how this book has like made its way into all these different corners, not just of the country, but of the world. It's fascinating, the reach that it has.
So for those that don't know, it's written by S.E. Hinton.
It is a female voice. It's a female writer. She's still in Oklahoma. Is that right?
Yeah.
I hearken it to, I went and saw August Osage, and I saw the name Tracy Letts before I knew gender of Tracy Letts. And I just assumed this is a woman. This is from the voice of that character, a female identifying voice. And you read The Outsiders and you just assume it is from the perspective of a male identifying human. And it is not. What did she give you any sort of insight as to how this hit her, whatever lightning struck her to write in such clarity and detail?
And at such a young age. She
At
was
such a young age.
14 or something, right? 14 was she?
Yeah, 15.
15.
She's like, I was pissed. I think she like looked around and at the world and how people were treated, and she was angry about it. And I think you can feel that in the book. And I think you hopefully can feel that in our production too. It's like when you are a teenager and you look around and you see how the world is, and you're like, why is it like this? Not jaded or cynical yet. You just want to ask why, and you want to scream about it, and you want to do something about it. And, you know, I think writing this book, I don't think she was like, I'm going to write this masterpiece. She was like, I need to express myself. I have to. She talks about having always been writing. And I think that it just came out of her. I think she hung out with a lot of guys and she felt like one of them.
Right.
Yeah, I think it just came out of her in that way.
Her 15-year-old pony boy sort of, emotional. Yeah, very, very cool. Is she a pretty cool broad?
She's amazing. She's amazing. She's so honest. And when she came and saw the show in La Jolla, and she loved it. And one of her friends was like, you'd know if she didn't. And that meant a lot to me. I'm always looking for people who will, you know, brutally and kindly tell me the truth. And Hinton is one of those people for sure. She's very cool. She's really real. She's really authentic. And I think you feel that in her writing. And I definitely feel that whenever I talk to her.
For me, in the 80s, I was in high school in 83 when that movie came out, and we had read the book. I read the book in 7th grade, and then that movie came out. And seriously, I was obsessed with it. Back then, we didn't have video games. We didn't have streaming. So going to the movies was a big thing, except we could only afford to pay for one. So my best friend and I would buy a ticket and then hide in the bathroom and eat popcorn until the next showing. And then we'd go in and watch it again. And we would do it like every Saturday.
Please don't eat popcorn in the bathroom.
I don't mind that you're
cheating the system.
We were eating popcorn in the bathroom.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It wasn't pretty, but it was the only way to get back into the movie. But so I was obsessed with it when I was young. I really was. I read it a few times and I just loved it.
I feel like Francis Ford Coppola just released some audition tapes. And the method that they went through with, you know, Rob Lowe and I'm forgetting everybody, Patrick Swayze and Matt Dillon. But what
they were all
set
in
up,
one room, right?
They were, and they kind of, they took on different roles and would play the scene as different characters for chemistry, and it was really fascinating to watch, really fascinating. What was the audition process like for this?
It was amazing. I like to spend time in auditions. So I will, you know, a lot of people over the years have come in for this. You know, we started auditioning when we did a lab 2 years ago. And so I really try to get to know the people who are coming in a little bit before we start working together. Like why they were drawn to this as a profession, like just to know them as a person before we start to work together. Because of how I like to work, I want to feel the vibe, not just their skill set. So many auditions were long, and bless my creative team for letting me just do it my way, because I wanted the people to show us it was their role rather than have an image in my head of anybody I wanted for a role. And so I feel like it took time to find this group that we have now, because they revealed themselves to us. So we spent, you know, a lot of time with each person. And then we made one group when we did our lab at the Daryl Roth 2 years ago. Then we went to La Jolla, and many of those people continued. Some didn't. We added a few more people. Then we moved to New York. Many of those people continued, but a few didn't. And we found the final group that we have now. And so they're all also have been cast in relationship to one another. And they're all very complementary. And there's no repeats. Everybody's their own special, unique creature. And that also felt important to find people who could sing in their own voice. And I think something I've learned about musical theater is you get trained to sing. Sometimes you get trained to sing in a certain way and your authenticity is stripped from you. And so we're trying to find people. Our composers, John Clay, says, when you sing these songs, it should feel like you wrote them. I want you to sing it like it's your song. And I feel like we found actors and singers and dancers, and I actually will say all of the people in the show are triple threats because that's what the show asks of them. And I think that also has just like attracted a very certain kind of athletic, muscular, grounded, gritty kind of person.
It's funny. We just had Kelly O'Hara on the show, and she talked about that too, how she showed up to New York. She had this very operatic voice, and Rent, those shows were the big belty things. And she said, I kept trying to force myself to be what they wanted me to sound like and what I thought I should be. And everything that made me authentically me just went out the window until I just said, I can't do this. I need to be me. And then you can help shape me into what you need. But yeah, that was an interesting
She even spoke
thing.
further. She just flat out said, and I was bad. I walked into these rooms trying to make myself what this score needed or what I thought the score needed instead of being me. And I was flat out bad. And to hear Kelly O'Hara say, I'm a bad singer, like makes you slink down into your chair, like in disbelief. But it's true. If you are putting on something, it's not going to go very well. No. It's just not,
I just feel like the industry does condition people, especially performers, to feel a certain way about what they should do. And what I found by spending time in the room with folks is and even like trying to earn a little trust in those spaces, which is to say like, no, I actually do want to know you. And I'll show you that by talking to you and letting you ask anything you want to before we work. If they did come in with some of those walls up, they could drop them. And that was cool too, to see people trust enough to, or feel like they would be held enough to be themselves. That was cool too, to see that happen through auditions.
You love community and you love people and being in a room with people. Can I ask how 2020 and 2021 affected you?
Yeah, it was hard. I mean, what we do is be around people all the time. So I did get to spend more time with my family. And so that was a way that I think I coped. I spent a lot of time, getting to know Brooklyn, where I live. When you're in like the hamster wheel and you're grinding, you don't
look up.
Look up. But I also did a lot of stuff on Zoom, which was challenging, but I think I just had to. I worked with Juilliard students from in early 2021, and we started rehearsing. Actually, I guess it must have been 2021. We started rehearsing a play on Zoom together, and I worked with Evan Yanulis and Kathy Hood at Juilliard to try to figure out a way to do something safe in that time. And so I guess the way I coped was by trying to make it happen whatever way, to try to still be making community or making work that way. And we were able to like make a bubble. It was pre-vaccine with the students and get out of town and quarantine, and then finally rehearse in a space together, put up a play and film it so that they could have a meaningful experience, even though they were being deeply affected by COVID. And that was a big part of my creative time then. And it was so worthwhile. And I remember the first rehearsal we had where they all got to take their masks off. They all just wept and wept and wept. It was so tender and just a privilege to get to try to help them have what, you spend your life preparing to finally get into Juilliard, and then you don't get to do it.
Yeah. Right.
So that was some of how I spent my time then. I did the Zoom version of Heroes of the Fourth Turning. My now husband and I rented a car and drove around the country. I hadn't seen so much of this country. So I tried to find community where I could, but I missed it deeply.
Is your husband in the business as well? Is he a writer or director or actor? Or
Yeah.
he's an actor?
Yeah. It's
Mm.
wonderful. We met in a play. He's Gabe Ebert. He's an amazing actor. We met in I was the assistant director for a play called Therese Racan, like 8 or 9 years ago. That's how we met. He was in
I've heard you on other interviews talk a lot about mind-body connection. And, I walked in the room and you're burning Palo Santo. So it strikes me that you are either a yogi or you're really spiritual or you're always, kind of seeking a way to connect. Do you want to talk a little about that? Are you a yogi or?
Yes, I got certified in Ashtanga when I was
Ah,
19, I think. But my brother actually led me to it. He got really into yoga and I started practicing with him in San Francisco, near where we grew up. But the Palo Santo came, I was gonna be Sam Gold's assistant director on the production of Hamlet he did with Oscar Isaacs.
mhm.
And he started burning Palo Santo. And I was like, what is that? And so he shared it with me. And that's when I and we would be doing this workshop and he'd be burning it and walking in a circle around us. And I was like really entranced by it. But I definitely love ritual.
Yeah.
I think it's powerful to do rituals as in groups, and to make things feel special. And I think that it helps bond us. So yeah, yoga means union. So that also really affects me in the way that I think about things. And, when we move through the world as human beings, we're all in these bodies and there is no separating the brain from the body, even though sometimes it can feel that way. So when I work on a play, it feels important that it be explored through the body as much as the soul or the mind. And I think that I'm a sensual person in terms of I'm interested in the senses, evoking many senses in a piece. I think that plays into the way I like to work too. I think touch is such a big part of our lives and can feel scary. And I think that, I work with this great woman, Ann James. She's got many titles. She sometimes works as an intimacy coordinator or director or, sensitivity specialist. But I've collaborated with her many times about like, how do you bring intimacy into a space in a joyful way that also brings consent into the space in a way that doesn't feel like taboo or scary or like, oh, well, I can't do that. It actually makes you feel free. Like, oh, I can do. What can I do? How can I? I want to do this scene and feel free. And sometimes you can feel free by knowing boundaries. So those are all things I think about when making groups and making people feel genuinely comfortable in the groups. Like you can feel genuinely comfortable to say, hey, don't do this. And the other person won't take offense or feel wounded or feel like they're bad. They'll be like,
Right.
oh, I'm glad you told me that.
I love thinking about this cast, and now they're 65, 70, but they smell Palo Santo, and it will bring them right back. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? To this very
totally.
moment of creating this
Yes.
piece.
Yep.
Yeah.
Forever, they will be unified through that particular scent and that protection. And it makes me weep when I think, I don't know, it's a where I am in my age, but I'm now looking forward, whether that be 10 or 20 years, and it's either music or whatever sense memory. But man, you give me a smell, I am dropped right
Yeah.
back
Yeah.
to where
Yeah.
I was in that time. Oh, you're creating something so
So
special.
special. So special.
In recognizing and learning that your aunt is Julie Taymor, I'm now picturing you as a little artist in those spaces. Did she welcome you into some of the theaters, and were you able to see art being formed at an early age and from some of these beginning stages? And do you think that helped informed who and where you are now?
Yes. So as a kid, my relationship to Julie's work was like going to see the pieces when they were done. So I remember seeing Lion King when I was 8 and I was obsessed with it. And I remember seeing other pieces as I was growing up, but I became closer to her later. Like when I was a senior in college, my dad, who's her older brother, was like, you should really invite Julie to see one of your plays. And I was like, oh, too nervous. I'm too nervous. And he really was like, you should do it. You should do it. And so I invited her to see my thesis play, which was a play I wrote, the only play I've ever written, although I hope there are more, sure. And, she's extremely honest and she liked it. And she was like, oh, you're good at this. And I was like, oh my God. And I moved to New York and I worked with her, and I learned so much from assisting her, and I got such an incredible visual education from those experiences. The way she works with designers, the way she works with actors, there's like a playfulness, there's certainly a rigor, there's an incredible eye for detail. So I feel like my my influence from her came when I was in my early 20s. Obviously, like growing up, I had a sense of her, but I became closer to her when I finally like really became a theater practitioner, I would say. Um, because I grew up in California, she was in New York. It felt like a special occasion to see her when I was growing up, and now it feels a little different because we're in the same place.
We will be right back with the 5 questions after a word from our sponsors.
If you had a special power, worldly or otherworldly, what would that be?
Flight.
Flight.
Okay, this next question, I love this book. It's called The Dictionary of Obscure Sorrows, and it's just sort of random and strange words that he's picked up from all different cultures and stuff. I love this book. So I'm going to pick a word, and you and Steph are going to try and guess the meaning. The word is furosia. It's a Japanese word. Furosia. Noun.
Oh,
How do you
Ocean.
spell it?
Furosha. Furosia.
It feels like you said it's a noun?
Mhm.
It sounds like, ferocious, but I know that's not what it means because it's not our language. Ferocia.
Okay, I'm going to guess.
Okay.
Barossa is a small shuttle that will take you to the main transportation hub. They have a train there called the Shinkansen, which is the bullet train. So it is a small shuttle that will take you to that train hub.
Okay. It's a little
Ferocia.
more ethereal than that.
Yeah,
Oh,
ferocia
gosh.
is like the feeling you get after it rains, and it has that smell in the air, and the sun is just coming out, and ferocia is the feeling that you feel when that happens.
Okay,
Well,
that is
fuck
really
you, Danya.
really-
Fuck you. Barasha, fuck you. Okay, what is it?
that was really close.
Really good.
It's the eerie tranquility of fast-moving clouds as they pass over your patch of sky, like a drifter stepping into your entryway to warm up for 1 minute, ruffling the ice from his beard before he nods his gratitude, turns his back, and heads back out into the cold.
Ooh,
Isn't that a great
okay.
word?
Yeah. Okay. If we were to call your husband and tell him that you've been arrested, what would he have assumed that you've done to land yourself in jail?
Oh, that's such a great question. What would you assume? I think that is like maybe I've like led the group of actors like to stay in the theater too long, or like we've gone like on an adventure somewhere, like and stayed in the place too late, or we've broken in, we're causing some kind of ruckus. I mean, if he got that call, he would be genuinely worried. So I don't know what he would actually think. Kind of think like I don't know. I stopped, drinking and smoking. And so I don't have that vices anymore. So I'm like, what would he think?
So it would have to be something really bad because it was intentional.
Well,
Sure.
no,
It'd
it could
be like
be.
leading a riot of some kind.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah,
The
causing
opening
problems.
credits, the opening credits in Fame, where they're all like dancing on the
Yeah,
taxi cabs,
uh-huh.
and so damage of property or something
by
like
this
that
one.
due to art. Due to
Uh-huh.
art. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tell me your favorite sandwich.
Oh, tuna melt. Tuna melt.
Oh,
What kind of
what
bread?
kind of bread?
Rye. Toasted
Yeah.
rye.
Toasted rye tuna melt. What kind of cheese?
Sharp cheddar.
Okay,
She
there it is.
knows.
Fries
All
or
right,
chips?
Honestly, salad, but if it was
Oh.
fries or chips, I'd say fries.
Okay.
Oh no, she's smart and well, no, healthy. I'll go fries.
Healthy-ish. The
Okay.
tuna melt's got some,
Don't be too much of a good thing. Okay.
yeah.
This is our final question. It's ridiculous, but we ask everybody. If you were a nail polish color, what would that color be? And what's the cheeky little name of that nail polish?
Ooh, it would be like some kind of purple. It'd be the cheeky name. Like purple pleasure.
Okay.
I love it.
Mhm.
Thank you so
you.
much.
Ah,
Thank you all. That
This
was
was
so
great.
fun. I'm
oh, it
so,
makes me so excited for the future. You are
Oh my
just
gosh.
truly like, I'm uplifting you because you are leading the charge in smarts and creativity
Yep.
and you're just wildly respected already. And so that's very thrilling to
It makes
see.
you so excited for the future of theater.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
just what is
Yes.
she going to come up with next? It's really great. It's
thank
really,
you. Thank you
So
both. I really-
congratulations on everything.
thank you. Go
Thank
get some
you.
rest.
Okay.
Bye.
Take care.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Coming up next, what struck a chord with us? How great is she?
Like,
Of course.
smart.
Yeah.
Smart.
Yeah, super
And
smart.
I love that she recognizes that people have to reveal themselves in order to truly be appreciated. Or, so many of the times we walk into a room and they always say, oh, no, first impressions, or you've got 20 seconds to make an impression. And sometimes it's like a dog and pony show. And
Yeah.
the understanding of who artists are goes beyond what they can bring within the first 3 minutes of an audition. It's so much deeper than that. So if
Yeah.
you just gave us more time, if you
Yeah.
gave people more time, they may surprise you or they may reveal something that really changes the course of the afternoon or the course of your piece.
Yeah.
And that she invites that into her room is really marvelous. And maybe that too is why she's invited to these spaces that right
Mhm.
off the bat, as a young white woman, perhaps may have been discounted. And then you sit with her for an amount of time and you think, oh, this is a very
Yeah.
substantial,
Yeah.
smart, creative human that I do want to spend time with because I
She's a
will be better
force.
because of it. Yeah.
She's totally a
yeah,
force.
yeah.
It really was funny when I went in that room and it was just, young guy energy.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, they were all jumping off chairs, they were like young, crazy, happy.
And that's reflected in the show too. It's the energy it literally ricochets throughout the theater. These young performers are remarkable, and what they do 8 times a week, especially now as an older person looking back. I mean, I think when you're young and you're in the theater and you're doing it every day, you don't understand the energy level that it takes. And wow, when I look at them, I'm in awe of what they put forth and freely give with such joy. It's remarkable. But when I walked into that rehearsal room and saw that,
And she just stepped forward and it was like, oh, shh.
Oh.
Just like-
Testosterone in check.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh, she's amazing. Because they weren't afraid of her. They wanted to just hear what she had to say. Like, now what's she
Right.
gonna say? Shh, and they all listened to her. She's really quite an amazing person. And I can't wait for you to see what she's done with this show.
I can't wait. I can't wait to get
She's
there.
amazing. Yeah.
Congratulations. Congratulations on being a part of this, incredible producing team, creative voice that is bringing this to this season.
It's really fun. I'm really enjoying, I'm learning a lot and I'm enjoying the teamwork and just kind of putting myself out there in situations where it's funny. 3 years ago, I can't even picture myself having the conversations and the Zooms that, I have now. And it's what we were saying. I think we used to say this last season, everything you want lives on the other side of your fears. And if you
Mhm.
just walk to it and through it, and understand that's just this fear. It's this false thing that I'm telling myself. And, and don't try to be something you're not. The authenticity is a huge part of, whatever you're doing. So it's great.
You had any anxiety dreams yet about the opening or how it
No,
will be
no,
received?
none.
Okay.
What
Great.
does happen is occasionally I'll be sitting in a reading of a new show that we get to go check out for next season or whatever, or I'll be in a Zoom meeting and I get that little whisper that goes,
Imposter syndrome.
yeah. And I'll
Yeah.
get that little whisper, but it's becoming quieter and quieter and quieter and quieter. The more I ignore that little whisper, the less power it has. So,
Beautiful.
yeah, it's fun.
Mm.
Still growing up at 50 something.
Hey,
Not bad.
may we never stop growing.
That's
You know what
right.
I mean? May we never, ever think
Stop
we
growing.
know everything we need to know, or find ourselves in spaces where we do know everything we need to know. That's time to move to another space.
Yeah.
For sure.
All
All
my
right,
friend.
pal. I
You're
love
the
you.
Best. I love you too. Thank you. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.